The crack in the cabin wall isn't what wakes you, it's the second draft. Colder, sharper, slicing through the thin chink where mud fell loose last fall. You feel it before your eyes even open. Wind, then silence. Then the familiar weight of a man not beside you. You're not surprised. His absence isn't new, only this time he didn't leave the axe. You lie still for a moment, wrapped in a quilt you stitched from wedding scraps and leftover muslin. Pieces of his old shirt near your heart, though you don't think about that much anymore. The fire has gone out. The embers are cold. But something in your chest, quiet and stubborn, still smolders. You push yourself up slowly, one hand braced against your stomach. 7 months along now, or near enough. You stopped counting exact weeks after the second time he came home, smelling of someone else's soap. The baby shifts, a soft nudge, low and right. Like it knows, you rub slow circles there, whispering nothing in particular. Then you stand, check the stove, and step outside into the frost-edged morning. The trail by the barn is fresh. His boots, one direction, no return. You knew he'd leave eventually. You just didn't think he'd do it before the cradle was done. You find it still propped up in the corner of the shed, half-planed, the rockers uneven, one side carved deeper where his grip slipped. He swore he'd finish sanding it after the storm passed. You run your fingers along the edge. A splinter catches your thumb. You let it bleed. You don't cry. Instead, you gather what kindling is left, split 2 crooked logs with the axe he didn't take, and start the fire again inside. The flames lick high, then settle. Heat creeps back into the room, but it doesn't reach the corners. By midday, your hands smell of pine, blood, and whatever was left of your patience. You sit at the table. There's a note. No, not a note. A scrap of envelope, folded once, tucked just under his saddle blanket. You don't even remember looking for it. But your fingers do. It isn't addressed to you. You read the name 3 times before your throat closes. Emmeline, not yours. The words are short, clumsy. One sentence runs into the next. A promise. A place. A time. It's signed with love. You don't make a sound. You just stare at the E and wonder how long it took him to teach her to read, or if she ever saw the cradle, or your hands, raw from trying to make this place his home. The wind picks up. You let the paper fall. Then you go back outside. The sun slips low by early afternoon. You gather what you need. A wool coat he never wore, the last jar of molasses, a knife dulled from misuse. You pack it slow, methodical, fold the scrap of his letter between cloth like it belongs in a bundle. You don't take much. You look once more at the cradle, still there, still unfinished. You whisper a name, the one you've been holding for the baby. You say it aloud for the first time. It doesn't echo, but it feels like something sacred just shifted in the air. And then you stop, because behind the cradle, barely visible in the shadows, is the old tin basin. He used it once to shave. You used it to wash the blood the night the mule kicked. You remember the sound he made then, sharp, thoughtful. You don't know why it matters now, but you reach for it anyway. Inside something clinks, a broken buckle, a brass button, a flake of coal, and beneath it all, the handle of the cradle knife, his initials carved in. You carry it inside. That night, you sit by the fire and finish what he didn't. The wood groans under your strokes. You sand smooth the edges. You shape the corner where the initials once sat. You press your thumb where the splinter bled you earlier and burn your own name there softly into the wood. It's not pretty, but it's yours. And by the time the snow starts falling outside, you've carved something else too, a line just beneath the name. It reads, "No flame takes what belongs to the quiet." You don't sleep, not yet. Instead, you sit beside the fire, hands resting on the cradle, listening, waiting. And when the baby moves again, stronger this time, you whisper one more thing into the dark. You say, "We are not what he left." Then you close your eyes. And finally, you rest. You wake before dawn. The light hasn't reached the frost on the window, but something colder has reached you. A knowing, low and steady, like water swelling beneath ice. You move slow, careful, not to stir the quilt too fast. The cradle sits quiet in the corner, catching what little glow the coals still give. He's not coming back. You knew it yesterday. You know it deeper now. The wind settled, the storm has passed, and with it, your last illusion. You rise and stoke the fire. It fights you at first. But you've learned how to coax life from ashes. That part you've practiced. You step into the yard and follow the tracks he left behind. The snow has begun to crust, but the indentation of his boots remains, clean, directional, purposeful, like everything he does when he decides something is no longer his. You pass the fence where he once carved your initials next to his. They're faint now, half faded, half scraped. You wonder if he meant to wear them down or if time did the work for him. Either way, the S is missing its lower curve, like a promise left unspoken. Behind the barn, you find his saddle blanket still hanging, not the one he rode with, that one he took. This one smells of old leather, rust, and a trace of smoke. And beneath it, the envelope. You knew it would be here, knew in the way women know the shape of loss before it casts a shadow. You don't touch it yet. Instead, you sit on the step. The cold seeps through your skirt, but you stay still. One hand rests on your stomach. The baby doesn't move, sleeping maybe, or listening. Finally, you reach for the letter. The paper is creased and smudged, too soft around the edges to be recent, which means he's been reading it for weeks, maybe months. The handwriting isn't his. It's too careful, feminine. The letters slant right, like someone taught her how to keep things neat. It starts, "My dearest Cole." Of course, she uses his name. You read slowly, eyes scanning, but not breathing. She writes of wild flowers, of the parcel of land he promised, of how she's sewn curtains already, blue gingham. She hopes he likes the color. She signs it. "Yours always, Emmeline." Your hands don't shake, but your lips part, just slightly, and you exhale like someone finishing a prayer. You fold the letter, not to keep it, but to crush it. The paper doesn't tear. It folds willingly, like it understands. You tuck it inside the cradle. Later, you'll burn it. But not yet. Inside, the cabin smells of old pine and new resolve. You wipe the table. You gather the cradle cloth again and re-sew the corner that tore last night. You hum a tune you haven't thought of since childhood. Something with no words, just rhythm, like the sound your mother used to make when brushing your hair. Around noon, the sky shifts. You sense it in your bones first, then in the way the trees outside lean slightly east. Weather's coming again. A dry wind, maybe smoke. You step out to check the woodpile. That's when you see the neighbor. He's across the field, leading his mare slow past the split rail. Mr. Talbot. He tips his hat when he sees you. Then stops. You don't wave. He doesn't call out. Instead, he nods, a short, awkward gesture, and keeps walking. You wonder if he knows. Of course he knows. Men like him always know. They just don't speak until it's safe to side with the one who survived. Back inside, you light the lamp early. Shadows stretch long across the floor. You gather kindling again, this time adding sage and juniper, dried sprigs your grandmother once told you would drive out sorrow. You don't know if she was right, but the smoke curls gently. The cabin feels less hollow. Night falls soft and early. You make tea. The molasses is gone. You crush dried apple into the bottom of the cup just for taste. And then you do something you didn't expect of yourself. You lift the cradle and move it beside your bed, not for fear, not for nostalgia, but because tonight you want to remember what it feels like to place something in the world and mean it to last. You smooth the linen. You light a second candle. You whisper again the name you chose, the one he never asked about. Then you sit back, watching the flame dance, and that's when you notice it, the smallest sound, a flick of wood, a tiny creak from inside the cradle. You lean forward, press your hand flat to the baseboard, warmth, not from the candle, not from the fire, from something else. You don't move, you just close your eyes, and for the first time in weeks, you smile. Because you remember now. You're not the one who left, you're the one who stayed. The third morning feels different, not easier, just known. You wake to bird song, sharp, too early for spring, too cold for anything but the desperate kinds of calls. Still, it's the first sound you've heard that doesn't echo a goodbye. The cradle rocks faintly beside the bed. You didn't move it in your sleep. You're sure of that. But maybe the wind nudged it, or maybe something else stirs inside. Something too small to be seen, but too alive to be still. You lean over the edge, the linen still tucked, undisturbed. The wooden curve you smoothed with your own hand now seems like it's always been there, like this cradle belonged to someone before you, someone whose ghost you've somehow pleased. You dress slowly. The seams of your dress pinch now. The belly grows daily, like wheat under storm clouds, fed by something fierce. In the hearth the embers still glow. You feed them pine and oak, whispering gratitude for heat, for endurance. You've stopped expecting comfort. But heat is survival, and survival is now your sole trade. Later, you step outside to check the shed. You've avoided it since finishing the cradle, afraid of what might still linger there. Not his tools, not his scent, but the quiet. The kind of silence men leave behind when they walk away before finishing something. Inside, it's just as you left it. Dust curls up from the ground. A bird's nest sits in the rafters, new since last week. A single feather dangles from the bent nail you used to hang his belt. You pull your coat tighter. Then you see it. A bundle, tucked beneath the shelf, oilcloth wrapped, barely tied, like he meant to hide it but changed his mind halfway through, like part of him wanted you to find it. You drag it into the light. Inside, baby blankets, handmade, not yours, 3 of them, stitched with care, and beneath them a tin of dried berries, a sliver of soap, and a paper-wrapped bundle of letters, all addressed to her, Emmeline. The name carves through your ribs again, but this time the hurt is clean. Like a blade newly sharpened, you open the first letter, his writing. You recognize the way he crosses his T too low. He writes about the coming spring, about clearing a place near the river, about starting fresh. He doesn't mention you or the child, but he signs each letter with love. You carry the letters back to the cabin, but not for safekeeping. You feed them one by one into the fire. You watch the paper curl, blacken. disappear. You whisper nothing. Just stand and let the heat touch your face, not to warm you, but to prove you're still here. When the last ember flickers, you turn to the cradle. The child shifts again. You rest your hand on your belly, and for the first time, you don't wonder if you're strong enough. You wonder what strength looks like in 30 years. When your child asks why their father's name isn't carved into the wood, or why the cradle smells of ash, you'll have an answer. And it won't include him. Afternoon brings snow, but not heavy. Just a dusting, enough to blur the world and keep travelers home. You take a moment, wrap a shawl around your shoulders, and step out front. You look to the distant hills, to the place where the trail curves west. That's where he went. But you don't walk there. Instead, you turn toward the east ridge, toward Talbot's place. It's a risk. He's a man. And men are a kind of storm, too, sometimes. But he saw you once and didn't look away. You write a note on a torn page from the Sears catalog, ink faint, words short. Need flour, candle ends, willow bark, if trade's fair. You sign it with only your first initial. You pin it to a stick, walk half a mile through snow, plant it in the drift by the trail. If he comes, he comes. If not, you'll survive anyway. You always have. Evening sets early. Inside you peel apples thin, boil the peels down with honey. The scent fills the cabin, memory and promise, sweet and smoke-wrapped. You sing, not loud, just enough for the child to feel the rhythm. The song has no name, like you maybe. Or maybe it's too old for names now. You add sage to the hearth, then lavender. The air softens. And as the wind howls past the door, something settles deep in your chest. Not peace, not yet, but readiness. You are no longer the one waiting for his return. You are the one the storm avoids. The fourth day begins with hooves, faint at first, like a memory trying to resurface, then louder, snow crunching beneath weight, leather creaking, metal catching light. You don't move, you just wait. If it's him, he won't knock. And if it's not, well, you've lived enough story to know not all riders bring trouble. Still, you reach for the rifle by the hearth, not to aim, just to hold. A knock. One. Then a voice. Left you something. Didn't look. Talbot. You exhale. Slow and careful. You count the breath like it matters. When you open the door, he's already turning back toward his horse. A sack rests at your feet. No words, no price, no expectation. Just supplies wrapped in burlap, tied with a blue strip of gingham cloth. That cloth stops you. You've seen it before. In the letter, her curtains. This piece was cut from her cloth, which means you call after him. Where'd you get this? He pauses, keeps his back to you. Then, trade came through. Folks don't ask where things go after the fire. He mounts his horse. She gone? You ask. A nod. Burned out, he mutters. Took what she could. Didn't stay. Then silence. You don't ask more. You just nod. And he rides on. Back inside. You unpack the sack. Flour. Dried beans. Candles. Willow bark. A tin of lard. No coin. No note. But tucked beneath the last item, a square of cloth, hand-stitched. A name embroidered in red thread. Sarah, not Emmeline, yours. You don't know how he knew, but he did. You press the cloth to your cheek. It smells faintly of smoke and soap, and something else. Something like apology passed between strangers who understand without speaking. That evening, you sit by the cradle. The child hasn't stirred all day, but you know she's listening. She always is. You begin to speak, not in stories, not yet, just facts. You tell her how the snow came late this year, how the fence broke twice, and how you learned to mend it yourself, how you carved the cradle from the wood her father left behind, not as inheritance, but as scrap. You tell her about the names you almost gave her, and then the one you chose. You whisper it again, just for her. Not Sarah, not Emmeline, a name older than both, a name with weight. She kicks once, then stills. You boil water for tea and sit at the table. There's a ritual here now. A rhythm. You reach for the ledger, not his, yours, started 2 days ago, pages filled with ink and ash. You write tonight's entry, 4th night alone, wind held steady, found peace in the quiet, girl still strong. You pause, then add, cradle didn't creak tonight, but it glowed again. You underline that last part, not because you need to remember, but because no one would believe it if you told them plain. The cradle glows, soft, like coal after breath. And only when you speak her name. Later you sew, a habit now, but this time not for warmth or repair. You're making something new, a shawl, blue like the thread she used for the curtains, but your pattern is different, sharp angles, feathered edges. The kind of design your grandmother taught you, part Comanche, part memory, part dream. You don't know why you're making it, only that it feels like protection, or maybe penance. You'll finish it before the birth. You have to. The wind shifts near midnight. You sense it in your breath first, then in the way the walls whisper. You rise, check the latch, and glance to the window. Footprints, fresh. Not from Talbot, not from anyone you know, barefoot, small. You open the door. There's nothing, only snow and the footprints, leading not to the cabin, but from it. Out toward the woods, you grab your shawl, your boots, your lamp, you follow. The wind carries no sound but your steps, your breath, the faint sound of something else. A bell, a lullaby. You walk until the cabin disappears behind you, until the cradle is just a word in your chest. Then you stop. At the edge of the clearing, there she stands, a girl, barefoot, wrapped in feathers, holding a piece of your blue shawl. You can't move. She doesn't speak, just walks forward, places the cloth in your hand, then fades, like mist warming under sunlight. You stare at the empty clearing. Your fingers curl around the cloth. It's damp, still warm. You walk home slower than you came. When you return, the cradle is rocking gently, not empty, but not full. Just enough light to see her name carved again, deeper now, by someone else's hand. Morning breaks with red light, the kind sailors warn about, the kind that used to mean storms. But now it feels like a kind of promise, like the land is telling the truth for once. No more surprises, just hard ground and harder choices. You stretch slow. The cradle doesn't rock, but her breath, soft and sure, keeps rhythm with yours. You sit by the hearth, watching steam rise from the kettle. The blue cloth, the one left in the snow, now hangs beside your drying herbs. It moves when there is no wind. It hums when no one's singing. You don't speak of it aloud. Some things are too sacred. You write again in the ledger. 5th morning. Found tracks. Not animal, not man. Cradle marked again overnight. She sleeps sound. You underline marked again twice. Not because you're afraid, but because it means she's not alone. You're not either. You tend to the firewood first. The stack's too low. You know what that means. Winter here doesn't knock, it breaks in. You haul from the east shed, your breath short, your belly tight. The trees are silent today. No birds, no wind, just the sound of your boots in the snow and the whisper of old fears brushing past your ribs. You stop, not kneel. There in the snow, another offering. A stone, black obsidian maybe, polished smooth, wrapped in woven grass. You don't touch it right away. You wait. Then, gently, you lift it. Beneath it, a message, not written. Burned. A shape carved into the earth. A sun inside a circle. The Comanche symbol for protection. You carry the stone home, cradled in your palm. It hums. You place it under the cradle's base. Her breathing deepens. You swear the glow comes again, slow like dawn, across the cradle's grain. That afternoon you take out the sewing again, but your fingers don't move the same. You're not stitching a shawl now. You're finishing a story. Thread becomes boundary. Color becomes blood. You stitch a horse, a river, a woman holding a child beneath a burning sky. You don't think. You just follow the rhythm. It feels like remembering something you never lived. By evening, snow falls again. You light the lantern early. Inside the oil's glow, you find the shape of your own face in the window. And behind it, not a shadow, not quite, just a presence, watching, protecting. You whisper thanks, and turn back to the cradle. That night your dreams return. They've been quiet too long. In them you're a child again, running through tall grass, following voices that never speak. You come upon a circle of women, all in blue, all holding stones like yours. They nod to you, then vanish. When you wake, the cradle is empty. You leap up, breath ragged, but she's there. Not gone, just shifted, facing east now. You didn't move her, but someone did, and on the cradle's edge, a new carving, not a name, a symbol, that same sun circle. Only now it's wrapped in branches. You light a fire, add pine, add sage. The smoke rises smooth, then splits in two. One side drifts west, one east. You follow the eastern trail, just your eyes, just your breath. And through the smoke you see it again, the same girl. Older now, not barefoot, she stands on a ridge, holding the cradle, not heavy in her arms, but part of her body, like a second heartbeat. She nods once, then vanishes. Again. You don't write it in the ledger this time. You don't need to. It's already recorded. Somewhere older than paper, older than fire. You pull the ledger close anyway. You touch the page and write just 3 words. She is named. Then close it, softly. As if even pages deserve sleep. It begins with wind, but not the cruel kind. This wind is warm, almost wrong. It carries the scent of melt, of earth, waking beneath ice. You know better than to trust it. This is the kind of thaw that fools you, makes you open a window just before the frost returns to punish hope. Still, you crack the door, and there, tucked beside the frame, is a bundle, wrapped in wax cloth, small, precise. You open it slowly. Inside, a folded map, one copper button, a dried flower you've only seen once on your mother's burial shawl. You don't understand how it survived the fire, but you do understand what it means. You're being told something. Warned? Called? The map is drawn by hand. It shows the creek, the ridge, the burned-out barn. Then something new, a red X to the north, where the tree line thickens. Someone wants you to find it or remember it. You look to the cradle. She stirs. Her fingers open and close as if grasping something not yet real. You pack carefully. Not to leave forever, just long enough to see if what's calling is meant for you or her. You bring water, bread, the obsidian stone, and the thread. The blue one from the window, now sewn into your coat cuff. You kiss her forehead. You whisper the name again, not your own, not her father's, but the one that came in the dream, the one you haven't said aloud yet. She sighs, as if saying it back. The woods greet you without malice. You move slow. Each footstep presses history into snow. You reach the X by midday. It's not a marker. It's a grave, shallow, fresh. No stone, but offerings, a pipe, a braid of horsehair, a single page torn from a ledger. You unfold it, recognize the handwriting instantly. It's yours, but older, written in a hand you haven't yet grown into. You live because she was brave, no name, no signature. But the next line answers both. The girl who burned became the woman who lit the cradle. You kneel by the grave. You don't cry, you don't pray. You just breathe, because that's what she gave you. Breath, not the baby. The woman before you, whoever she was, whoever you are becoming. You place the flower atop the grave. It doesn't wilt. Back home, you find her awake, eyes wide. She doesn't fuss, just watches you, as if she already knew, as if she saw the grave too. You carry her to the hearth, wrap her in the half-finished shawl. You hum something from nowhere, a song your mouth seems to remember before your mind does. She blinks, and then, for the first time, smiles. That night, the wind returns, colder now. Honest, you don't mind. The cradle glows again, but now the light pulses, once, then twice, like a heartbeat, not yours, not hers, but shared. You reach beneath it. Your hand finds the ledger page you left at the grave, but it's whole again. No fold, no tear, just words that weren't there before. She carries both fires now. You don't question it, you just nod. Outside something shifts. Snow gives way to silence, then hooves, then footsteps. You don't reach for the rifle this time. You step to the door unafraid. It's Talbot, but not alone. Behind him, a boy, young, wide-eyed, wrapped in a cavalry coat 2 sizes too big. Talbot tips his hat, found him out past the ridge, said he was looking for the woman with fire hands. You glance down. The blue thread on your cuff glows faintly. The boy holds out a small wooden carving, a horse, burned at the edges, but whole. He says nothing, just offers it. You take it gently, feel the weight. It's not just wood, it's memory, encoded, trusted. You nod, step aside. Come in, you whisper. And they do. The boy doesn't speak for hours. He eats what you give him, slowly, methodically, eyes darting to the cradle, then to your hands, as if watching for something more than kindness. You don't press. Words come when they're safe. Talbot rests near the hearth, boots off, arms crossed, the way men do when they have seen too much. He doesn't ask why the cradle glows now and then, doesn't flinch when the wind hums down the chimney like a woman's voice caught in cotton. He just watches and waits. You study the horse the boy gave you. It's carved from juniper, still holds scent. Not just a toy, a message. Along its belly is a groove. You run your nail through it, Feel it snag. Inside a bebla, a slip of parchment oiled and tight. You work it open. It reads, "He's not the last." You show it to Talbot. He squints, grunts, then speaks. "They're moving south. Families. Whole bands. Scared of rail lines. Scared of ghosts." You raise an eyebrow. He shrugs. "Guess we all believe in something." You turn to the boy. He finally speaks. "Cradle burns when the wrong ones come close." Just that. Then silence. That night, you can't sleep. The cradle hums. Your daughter shifts, not crying, not waking, just aware, as if her bones are listening to something you can't hear yet. You open the ledger again, flip to a blank page. But it's not blank. Your handwriting is already there. The boy is one of hers. You stare. Your pulse slows. Your breath shortens, then deepens. Because somehow, somewhere inside, you already knew. At dawn, Talbot leaves. No words, just a nod. He takes the horse carving with him, in case someone forgets what matters. The boy stays. Doesn't say why, doesn't need to. He chops wood without being asked, carries water, hums to the baby, songs with no words but old weight. You start calling him Ash, because of what he walked through to get here, because of what remains on his boots, because of what he's helping you rebuild. A week passes, then another. Ash finds an old harmonica behind the hearth. He doesn't play well, but the sound makes her giggle. First time you've heard it, you laugh too. Then cry, because joy has a sharp edge when it's been gone a while. Snow deepens, supplies thin. You make a plan to trade with the settlement east. Ash insists on going. You say no. He goes anyway. 3 days pass. You pace the floor, each night colder, each wind sharper. On the 4th morning he returns, with more than food, a scrap of blanket, blue thread woven into its edge. He says he found it near the creek, and tracks, booted, unkind, fresh. Men, 2, maybe 3, coming this way. You don't panic, you pack, but not to run, to prepare. The cradle is moved closer to the hearth. The stone, the obsidian, is placed beneath again. The quilt is laid over top. Your hands don't shake. They set traps. They oil hinges. They load powder. Ash watches you, then speaks. You've done this before. You nod once. Then light the lantern and wait. That night, the cradle glows red. Not soft, not warm. Warning. You pull Ash close. You hold her tighter and listen. Boot steps. 1 voice, then 2, laughing. Casual. Wrong. You don't move. You breathe. Then a 3rd voice, low, familiar. A voice you never thought you'd hear again. Your name. Spoken like a threat, he's come back. Not to return, but to reclaim. You reach for the rifle, then pause, and reach instead for the quilt, wrap it around the cradle, whisper to Ash. Stay. Then open the door, not wide, just enough, so they see a flicker of light, and think you're afraid. They'll step in. And the floor will do what you designed. You step back. They push forward, and the trap releases. The floor gives first, a thud, a yelp, then splintering, not of wood, but of pride. You built the pit shallow enough not to kill, deep enough to change their minds. 2 of them fall. The 3rd stumbles back, curses loud. That voice again. His. You swing the lantern out, not to throw, to show. Let him see you. Let him remember the woman he buried in snow. Except you're not that woman. You're holding fire now, and you aim it steady. He doesn't draw. Not yet. Not like last time. You always had a temper, he says, stepping closer. The cradle glows behind you, out of sight, but its warmth reaches your spine, steadies your shoulder. You answer calm. And you always underestimated what I'd survive. Ash stands just behind the doorframe, silent. He has the second rifle. You don't need to say it. He knows what to do if things go wrong. The man steps forward again, 1 foot, 2. He's testing something. You. The edge of his voice drops. You think I came back for you? Your lips stay still. He sneers. I came for her. She's mine too. Your hands don't tremble, but your jaw does, because it's not the lie that shakes you, it's the part that might not be. He moves again, hand brushing coat, gun handle, knife. You don't wait. The shot cracks clean, hits the wood near his foot. Warning. He flinches, but smiles. You won't shoot me. His voice is low now, private, like it used to be in the dark before he changed. You still love me. Some part does. The cradle flares, red, then gold. He notices this time, steps back, confused. What is that? Your answer is soft. Proof you're wrong. He lunges. Too late. Ash steps from the side, slams the butt of his rifle into the man's ribs. Hard. He drops. Not dead. Not yet. You look down. He's gasping. Not from pain, from disbelief, because it wasn't you. Because the child who shouldn't matter, mattered. You bind his wrists, drag him to the pit. You don't speak. Neither does Ash. You throw down a skin of water, a strip of dried meat. He calls your name once, quiet, not defiant, like a question. You don't answer, because you don't need to. You just close the trap door, bar it with the same beam he once broke, then turn to the cradle and kneel. She's sleeping. Hand curled around the obsidian, you whisper to her, not words, just breath. She stirs, smiles. The quilt rises, falls, like tide, like rhythm. Like a name you haven't spoken yet, but will. Soon. Ash stokes the fire. He hums that same off-tune melody. You close your eyes, not from weariness, from trust, because tonight you're not watching the door. He is, because this cabin, this cradle, they're not hiding places anymore. They're the center, the hearth, the beginning again. In the dark, you open the ledger, new page, blank. But then, one line appears. Even fire remembers love. You don't question it. You just smile and let the words stay open on your lap, like a cradle for memory, like an ember refusing to die. The wind changes the next day. Less bite, more whisper. You rise early, baby pressed to chest. Ash already splitting wood outside. He pauses when you step out, nods without smiling, but his eyes say it. The threat's past. For now. You check the trap door, still shut, still silent. You haven't fed him again. He's alive. You'd know if he wasn't. You don't feel guilt. Not quite. Just a dull ache somewhere between your ribs and the memory of his promises. Ash says nothing when you pour an extra mug of water and set it aside. He knows what it's for, but you never take it down. Instead, you stitch. The quilt's been mended again and again, each thread a different season. You sew by firelight while your daughter sleeps. Tonight, the needle catches. You turn it over, find a thread pulled loose, long, red, and thin. You tug gently, and the seam parts. Inside the fold, a name, embroidered, tiny, faded, almost erased. Not yours, but hers, the woman before you, the woman he left first. You trace it with your thumb, then you add your own. next to hers, not to replace, but to remember. Ash brings back news from the trail. 2 riders passed west, searching for someone. Not your name, not yet, but close enough. You ask how he knows. He shrugs. They said she was carrying a cradle. You smile, then fold the quilt tighter around your girl. Let them come. She's not something to chase. She's someone to return to. That night, the ledger glows again. You don't open it, just rest your hand on it, like you're telling it, not tonight. Tonight, we sleep. A storm rolls in, late, slow, not snow, not thunder, just silence. That kind of hush that makes the world listen. You light a single candle, place it in the window. Ash asks why. You tell him, so the next woman knows she's not alone. He doesn't reply, but he lights another and puts it beside yours. Hours pass, then a knock, soft. You both freeze. No one ever knocks here. You open the door, and there she is, soaked, shivering, arms empty, eyes full. You step back, let her in, no questions, just warmth. She kneels near the fire, sees the cradle, and cries. Her name is June. She had a baby. She lost him, not to death, to decision, to survival. She doesn't say more. She doesn't have to. You place your daughter in her arms, just for a moment, long enough. She breathes deep, and something in her unwinds, not healed, but held. Ash watches from the corner. He offers her tea. She takes it. Her hands don't stop shaking, but her voice comes back. I saw the light. You nod. Then it did its job. You give her the quilt that night. She protests. You insist, because that's what the thread is for. Not just warmth, memory, legacy. Ash walks her to the ridge in the morning, says nothing. She doesn't need words anyway. She has fabric now. And that's enough. You tuck your daughter in, cradle still warm, still lined with ash beneath the wool. You touch her hair and speak her name aloud. First time, quiet, earned. Then the ledger opens again. Words already waiting. Every thread was someone's beginning. You close it slowly and write your own beneath. So is she. You wake to birdsong, not loud, not many, but one, maybe two, sharp as needles in the hush. It's the first sound that isn't human in weeks. You take it as a sign. Ash is gone before dawn, just tracks in the frost and a warm spot on the porch bench. You don't worry. You trust his silence more than most men's promises. But you still wait by the window. The cradle rocks gently. She's dreaming. You can tell by her fingers twitching like she's grasping air. You smile, then sit beside her and begin carving. Not words, not symbols, shapes on the wood of the hearth, shapes only you understand. They look like rivers. They feel like home. By midday the wind shifts again. This time from the north, brings with it a small cart, a single horse, one man driving, wrapped in wool and suspicion. He doesn't come to the door, just waits. Until you step out, then tips his hat and hands you a letter, no words exchanged. He leaves. You hold it in your hands a long time before you open it. The letter's from a woman, not a stranger, a cousin. One you thought long gone. Her words are plain, but heavy. She writes of trouble back east, of rumors about your survival, about your daughter, about a man with your husband's name claiming her as his rightful blood. She writes, they say the child's birth was illegal, that you forged marriage records, that you were found half dead and not right in the head. She writes, they're coming. Then, if you still carry your mother's knife, use it. You fold the letter, place it under the cradle's lining. You do not cry, but you do go to the ledger and write. Truth is slower than fire, but it burns longer. Then you sharpen your mother's knife. Slow, steady. Ash returns at dusk, 2 rabbits in hand, and blood on his sleeve. You ask nothing. He answers anyway. One of them made it this far. You nod. How far now? He doesn't flinch. Closer than comfort. Still far enough for choice. You prepare that night like it's a ceremony. You grind herbs. You line the windows with dried pine and crushed salt. You wrap the cradle in the quilt again, but add a new layer beneath, a shirt you never wore, because it belonged to the version of you who waited for rescue. And that version no longer breathes. The ledger stays open. It writes nothing, just hums. You wonder what it's holding back. Maybe it knows what you'll do. Maybe it waits to see if you'll do it. You ask Ash the question, the one you've avoided. Do you believe she's ours? He doesn't blink. She chose us. It's enough. In the middle of the night, a sound wakes you. Not horse hooves, not boots, but a cry, high, long, rising. You rush to the cradle, but she's asleep. Peaceful. You step back, then realize the cry came from outside. You throw open the door and see it. A fire far off, a signal, someone calling to someone else. But who? And for what? Ash joins you. You both stare. You whisper, "It's starting." He nods once, then walks inside, returns with a saddle. Not his, yours. You didn't know he kept it. He hands it to you. On it, fresh paint. One word, not your name, your daughter's. It glows faintly, then fades. You take the saddle in both hands, feel the weight, feel the choice. Then say what neither of you has dared say. We ride at first light. And he replies soft and final. She won't be hunted, not while she carries our fire. You place the saddle beside the cradle and sleep by her side. All 3 of you, quiet, still, ready. You wake before the frost lifts. The cradle's still warm. Your daughter's breathing in slow, steady rhythms. Ash is already outside, feeding the horse, tightening the straps. No words pass between you. None are needed. You pack only what you must. Flint, dried apples, the ledger, the quilt, and the saddle. You wrap the girl in a shawl made from your old riding skirt, the one he once said made you look like you didn't belong. Now it belongs to her. You don't look back when the door shuts. You only look at the trail ahead. The horse carries all 3. Ash rides front, you behind him, daughter between. You press her gently to your chest, listen to the soft coo she makes in her sleep. Ash mutters something about the ridge line. Someone may be waiting. You nod, then point east. There's a place you remember, a creek that splits the pines. He nods again. You go that way. Mid-morning, a hawk circles overhead. Ash watches it for too long. You sense it too late. A shot cracks. The horse jolts. You fall. She cries. Your body hits hard. Shoulder first. Ash rolls to cover her. Another shot. Wide this time. You scramble for cover. The rocks ahead. The tree line. The cradle's still strapped. Ash shouts. They're trying to spook, not hit. That's worse. It means they're tracking, trying to draw you out. You crawl toward the cradle. She's still screaming. You reach her, pull her free. Ash returns with his rifle, shoots twice. No return fire. That's the trick of it. They want fear. Not blood. Not yet. You take the shot next. Not at them, at the base of the pine, the old one. Rotted trunk. It falls hard, loud. Smoke rises from the snow where the branches break. A warning. You scream something feral, something old. Ash turns, eyes wide. He's never heard that sound from you. You've never heard it either, but it worked. Silence. The shots don't return. You move fast after that. Cut through birch woods down toward the dry creek bed. Ash carries your daughter. You carry the saddle now. Its weight lessens the farther you run. You reach the old miners' camp by dusk. Stone chimney still standing, roof caved. Safe enough. You collapse inside. Ash lights a fire but small. You sit with the girl, your hands trembling. Then you reach into the saddlebag, pull out the ledger. It's already open. A new line. The wind tests the name before the world does. You stare at it, then whisper her name, louder this time. The first time since the fire, she blinks up at you. Not recognition, not yet, but something close. Ash leans back, eyes closed. You need to decide, he says. You look at him. Decide what? He nods toward the saddle, toward the fire. Whether we're running or rising, you understand. And for once, you don't need to think. You answer. Both. You stay the night. No one comes. In the morning, the fire's low. The girl wakes, not crying, just looking. Her hand reaches toward the saddle, touches the leather, that one spot, the one with her name, and as her fingers graze it, a shimmer, faint, quick, but real. Ash sees it too. You meet his eyes, don't speak. Then you say the only thing that fits. She's not just ours. He nods. She's the story now. You take a long breath, then gather your things. It's time to move again, not to escape, but to carry her forward, into the kind of life people whisper about, the kind where names mean more than survival. They mean fire. You ride without speaking for half the day. Ash ahead, your daughter wrapped against your chest. The saddle now lashed across your back, the carved name pressed against your spine. Each time the wind shifts, you hear it creak, as if it's remembering something too. The woods thin by noon. You find a narrow ridge, a kind of overlook. Below, a wagon road half buried in sleet. Beyond that, smoke from a distant settlement, maybe 10 miles, maybe less. Ash signals to stop. He doesn't like it. You do. You like that it's close enough to smell bread, but far enough for your next decision to matter. You rest beneath a tree that smells like sap and last year's snow. Ash goes scouting. You take out the ledger. The page has changed again. This time, just one line. The ones who survive long enough become the ones who choose. You close the book, then open the cradle. Not to place her down, to take something out. Tucked in the lining, a letter. Not the cousin's. This one is your own, the one you wrote 2 winters back. When you still believed he'd return to read it, you unfold it slowly. It begins. If you're reading this, then I forgive you. But now you're not sure that's true. You read further. I forgive you for leaving, for the silence, for the girl not knowing your voice. You look down at your daughter. She's awake, eyes wide, mouth still, listening. You crumple the letter, not in anger, in release. Then you set it in the fire. Watch the words curl into nothing. A new sound behind you. You turn. Ash is back. He's not alone. A girl rides beside him, older than your child, not yet grown, eyes sharp, shoulders rigid, hair braided tight like someone raised with ritual. Ash nods toward her. She followed the tracks. You nod. And? She's yours, he says softly. Then, to the girl, tell her. The girl steps forward. In her hands, A pouch. She hands it to you. Inside, bark, cloth, a dried flower, a carved stone, shaped like the sun. You stare. These were yours. Once, long ago. She says, they buried what you gave, but it didn't stay buried. She doesn't cry. You don't either. Instead, you touch her cheek, whisper her name. She answers with yours. The real one. The one no man ever spoke right. Ash steps back, lets you breathe, lets the cradle creak. That night the four of you sleep close, a fire, low and stubborn. The ledger beneath your head like a pillow. When the child stirs, you rock her. When the older girl watches, you don't look away. You say, I didn't forget you. She nods. I didn't forget how you smelled. You smile. She adds, like burned sugar and wet leather. You both laugh, small, the kind that breaks walls instead of hearts. Just before dawn, the girl places something beside the cradle, a single feather. Ash asks, from who? She shrugs. I found it on the tracks, thought it looked like her. You keep it. Tuck it into the ledger, then you all rise. No need to say where you're going, only that it's forward. You sling the saddle over Ash's shoulder. You carry the girl. The other walks ahead. Her feet know the trail better than anyone's now. You reach the outskirts of the settlement by late morning. 3 cabins, a schoolhouse, 1 general store, no church, but someone's nailed a cross to a pine tree anyway. You don't stop. You don't announce. You pass through like wind through grass. The others watch. 2 men on a porch nod. A woman stares too long, then turns away. Ash says nothing. The older girl doesn't look up. She leads you west, past a frozen pond, to a barn left leaning into itself. She stops, points. She lived here. You already know who she means. You don't ask more. You step inside. Dust, old hay, a cradle, not yours, but almost. Built from the same pattern, same slope of wood, only this one is cracked, split down one side like something tried to grow out of it too soon. You kneel beside it, run a hand over the edge. Your daughter stirs on your back. The older girl watches, quietly. Then, as if naming a ghost, she was your sister. You freeze. Ash turns. You said you were alone. You stand slowly. I was wrong. The ledger is out before you know it. Open to the last page written. Blank again. Then, a line forms. You were never the only one. You were just the one who stayed. You whisper the words aloud, not for the others, for yourself, and for the woman who carved cradles for babies she never held. Later you find a rusted pot-belly stove in the corner. You light a fire inside it with the last of the pine bark. Ash ties up the horse. The older girl takes your daughter and hums something soft, not a lullaby, a chant, old, woven through breath. It rocks the baby better than your arms ever could. That night, the barn becomes more than walls. It becomes center, not just for sleep, but for memory. You unroll the quilt again, place it under the cradle, this one, the cracked one. You trace the crack with a strip of leather, not to hide it, to honor it. Because some wounds don't need to be mended, just named. The girl watches you, then reaches into her coat, hands you something, a strip of cloth, dyed red, edges charred. You don't recognize it at first, then you do. It's from your wedding dress, the one you burned when he left. You blink slowly. She says, it was in the tree behind the cabin. You ask, how did you know it was mine? She shrugs. It smelled like you, then, and she kept it, all this time. You press it to your chest. It smells like cedar, smoke, and unfinished prayers. You don't cry, but your throat aches like you did. Ash steps forward, places a hand on your shoulder. No words, just warmth. You sit together, 3 generations. One fire. The cradle creaks again, then stills. Then the baby laughs. A first-time kind of laugh. High, bright, full. All 3 of you turn, and in that moment, it doesn't matter who left or who stayed, only who remains, and what they carry forward. Morning brings snow, not a storm, a hush. Like the world wants you to listen. You step outside the barn while the others sleep. The air smells like sap and frozen water. You carry the ledger, the feathers still tucked inside. You open it to the center, blank pages. But you feel the weight of names pressed underneath, unwritten ones, waiting. You kneel in the snow and press your hand against the cover, then speak aloud. I am not what was done to me. I am what I carried through it. Your breath clouds, then fades. Behind you, soft steps, Ash, no shoes, just socks in snow. He doesn't speak, just stands beside you, waiting. After a while, he says, "She looks like both of you." You nod, he adds, "But she laughs like no one else ever did." You smile, then ask, "What if that's the point?" He blinks. "What?" You rise, brush snow from your knees. "What if the point was never survival?" He tilts his head. "What then?" You look toward the woods where the trail vanishes. The point is what happens after. Back inside, the fire's low but steady. The older girl is braiding your daughter's hair. Tiny wisps barely long enough. You watch for a while before speaking. "We're leaving this place," you say. Neither asks where. Neither flinches. The girl says, "West?" You nod. Ash asks, "With them watching?" You look out the cracked boards toward the ridge. There's always someone watching. He chuckles softly, but not everyone listening. You glance at the baby, now playing with the saddle strap. "She is," you say, "and she will." You pack quietly. Only the cradle stays. You leave it where it was, resting on the quilt. Ash wants to take the stove. You shake your head. "We only take what sings." He nods, tucks the ledger beneath his coat. The older girl shoulders a bundle, 1 dress, 2 apples, a hair comb carved from bone. You don't ask where she found it. She doesn't offer. It's hers now. And you trust her to keep it safe. At the tree line, you stop, turn back. The barn leans deeper than before. The snow clings to its roof like a blessing. You whisper, just for yourself, "I forgive you." Not to your husband, not to your sister. To the silence, to the space between what was taken and what remained. Then, without another word, you turn west. Ash at your side, the girl just ahead, and your daughter, warm, wake, against your chest, breathing in a world made only from what you've chosen to carry. By dusk, the wind softens. It doesn't cut like it used to. It wraps, carries the smell of pine smoke and wild sage. You rest beside a slow stream, your daughter asleep in your arms, Ash tending the fire, the older girl humming again. The same melody, only slower now. The ledger lies open near your knee. Its pages don't move in the breeze, but something settles anyway, like breath after grief, like peace, finally given permission. You don't speak much. You don't need to. The world has quieted, or maybe, finally, you've grown loud enough within to not need noise without. You run a thumb along your daughter's cheek, whisper a name, the one that lived in you before anyone else. She stirs, but doesn't wake. And you know, deep in your chest, that you are no longer holding her alone. not just in arms, but in story, in meaning, in name. The sky shifts, stars bloom and slow scatter. Ash leans back, eyes half closed, face full of ember light. The older girl lays the hair comb beside the ledger, a soft offering, a signal. You nod once, and she knows. Tomorrow you'll keep moving. But tonight, this is the place where the fire held, where the cradle once burned and something better rose. No ceremony, no farewell, only warmth, only watching, only that soft, earned silence that means you've outlived the worst of it. You close the ledger, but not forever, because someone else might open it one day and find your name pressed into the fibers, still breathing, still here.